Say, are you happy?
Hello,
Yo.
and welcome to Yeah, But Are You Happy? I'm going to throw it to you, Kate. You did a really good job of introing the show a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know what I did, but here's the deal. We're a podcast about the intersection of mental health and comedy and or creativity. Anybody listening live can see that we have a guest today, but the polite thing to do in hosting a podcast is to introduce them last. Why? We can't know.
You saved the best for last. The guest is the best. Why is that not a saying? The guest is the best. Anyway, okay.
The guest is the best. Put it on a tattoo.
Yeah.
Today we are going to continue our series. We're doing a bit of a series on our relationships to our bodies. Every gender, we're going to try and get across the gender spectrum, not just one. And there's a bunch we're not going to get to. But and today we're going to be focusing a little bit on eating disorders. So if that is a trigger for you, just come into this with that in mind. I'm Katie Stone. I'm a comedian and copywriter living with bipolar disorder. And as I continue to say, since it's very popular on TikTok, ADHD in Los Angeles. And I'm going to toss it to my co-host, Lane. Who the fuck are you?
Hey, I'm just a cool, hip person named Lane Ingram, who's a therapist and a comedy performer. And I'm also on psych meds because I have mental health issues. And we're going to talk about real stuff and maybe have some laughs as well, as we are wont to do here on the show. And today's topic is a continuation of last week's topic, body dysmorphia. We're talking about our relationship with our bodies, eating disorders, body dysmorphia. And we are thrilled to have on our show today an Austin icon, a comedy legend, a staple of the Austin comedy community, Miss Emma Stone.
Hi, I'm Emma Stone, the actress.
Chloe just whipped her head around with complete ferocity. I did not stick the landing at all. Let me reset. Here we go. Taking that again in 3, 2, 1. Don't edit any of this out, Preston. Austin comedy legend, Miss Kate Blanchett. Emma Holder. What is wrong with me? Emma Holder. Thank you so much for joining me.
I was very close to getting the role of Cruella. So I appreciate you recognizing that.
Man,
honestly, great.
Dementia. It's here. I turned 41 in June and dementia is upon us. I got clearly, if any, I mixed up Katie Stone and Emma Holder.
Yeah,
so Katie, you're Katie Holder now. Anyway, Emma Holder, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop talking.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Welcome.
And you host a wonderful podcast that Chloe and I have been on. Tell us a little bit about that bad boy.
So my podcast is called Twin Beds, and it's actually hosted by Emma and Jared Doritos. We're adult twins living in a bunker. So that is a very dumb and silly podcast. It's all made up. So it's a little different than the tone today, but I think, equally important.
Yes.
100% agree.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit, you, in addition to being an amazing comedy performer, you are a mental health professional. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I am a social worker and a therapist. So right now, I just got my master's last year, in the height of COVID. Great time to enter a job market.
Yeah, congratulations.
Recommend it. Thank you. So I spent a lot of time being unemployed, but I'm working as a DBT therapist. And then I also am starting a new job at Dell Children's Hospital on Monday.
Wonderful. That is great. Way to go. Yeah. You're doing it, making a difference. Yeah. And you are working with, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of population you work with mostly?
So I work with adolescents and adults. And I I prefer, well, that's not true. I really like working with adults, but adolescence is my jam. Like I have more
Right.
history working with kids and teens. And that's just not everyone's favorite thing to do.
Yes.
So it just works that I really like it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're going to do wonderful. I used to work with adolescents, high turnover rate working with adolescents. You know what? The only reason I stopped working with teenagers is the parents. I loved working with teens. It's the parents. The parents, man. How do you
See,
do it?
yeah, it is interesting because like you do have to involve parents more than you would involve other people in someone's life when they're an adult. And it is a challenge because you want clients to respect or feel safe and that you're
Mhm.
respecting their boundaries, and you got to keep them safe. Um, and if the parents aren't on the same page with the treatment, it's going to be hard for
Yeah.
anything to work.
Tough,
Uh,
tough.
so it is interesting. But the practice I'm at is private pay, which a whole nother situation to talk about how mental health and all healthcare works in this country. But
Yes.
because we are like most of our clients, we do have a sliding scale, but like most of our clients have more access to resources
Mm.
than if I was working at like one of my internships at a uh, Title I school. So
Okay. Yeah.
parents can be more involved is my
Oh,
long way of
yeah.
saying that, and have been, because most of our clients are pretty acute. They've you know often gone to a hospital or an PHP or IOP program, which is partial hospitalization or intensive outpatient treatment. So the parents are used to being involved in the process too.
Oh, nice. So by the time they get to you, they're hopefully the family is kind of somewhat on the same page and the parents are kind
Yeah.
of invested in the
Although, I
treatment.
mean, I have a ton of empathy for parents
Yeah.
in general, and then parents of children who are fighting mental health
Yeah.
struggles, because it's got to be scary to worry about your kids like that, and want to be able to help them and not know how.
Dang, yes. Okay, see, that's what I was missing. Okay, I'll start working with teens again and you're going to counsel me, I'll pay you and we'll figure this out together. But no, thank you so much, Emma, for telling us a little bit about what you're up to right now. We're going to do a quick little mental health check-in. We can go a little around the table here and basically just kind of check in with how we're doing. Katie, how you doing? You want to go first? Or am I throwing you
Sure.
under the bus?
No, it's good. Let's see. I'm doing okay. I was telling Lane right before I got on this call, my boss sent me an email that was like, "Are you angry? You seem angry lately." And that threw me. But I literally think it's because I sent an email without any exclamation points in it. So that was funny from like a 2005 feminist blogging perspective. Um Maybe that's too early. Let's say 2012. But aside from that, yeah, I'm still not able to go on walks, and that's driving me nuts. But oh my god, Sanjay left over the weekend and he took the car. We only have one car right now because mine's broken down and I can't walk. And so I was forced to do literally nothing all weekend. And I won't lie, it was good. I thought I
Whoa.
would be unhappy, but I was not unhappy. I was very happy. And then when he came back, I was like, there were shows I hadn't finished watching.
Yeah, what did you you've got the sprained ankle, right? So you still really you can't get around too
It
much,
doesn't
right?
like hurt, but it's not all the way healed. So I'm trying not to walk on it because I did hurt it roller skating and I do enjoy roller skating. So I'm like, I don't want to get back on my skate and immediately like actually hurt myself. So I've been
I
trying to
wish
sit.
I had that thinking ahead like that of like, no, I'm not gonna just like keep damaging it and hope it gets better that way.
I'll push it. It'll learn.
Yeah.
It'll get better.
We're just gonna Johnny
Uh.
Knoxville this whole ankle. We're just gonna keep beating the shit out of it, and it's gonna get stronger as a result. What did you watch over the weekend when you were doing nothing? What were you actually doing?
Well, what was frustrating was I was obsessed with this show. I finished the show The Magicians, which is 5 seasons of 13-hour-long episodes. I finished that, I think, in 3 weeks. It was not good.
Wow.
It wasn't, but then, so I just finished that. So I rewatched 100% of what I hadn't already rewatched, which was only 4 episodes of WandaVision, then the new WandaVision. And then I watched Age of Ultron because I'd never seen it. And I had taken an edible and watched WandaVision at 11 a.m. So it only made sense to watch a 4-hour movie. It's not that long. And then
How is
I
WandaVision? I've heard it's good.
Lane, I can't believe you haven't watched it. It is the culture, but it's good. It's really good. It's very well. Something I saw said that it has the budget and interest to do something very interesting, which now that TV is so segmented, you can't really do in a first season unless you have the interest of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe behind you. So that's been cool. And you don't even, okay, men don't seem to have noticed it's 3 female leads. So that part is good. And that's not even counting Kat Dennings, who is 3.5 in my opinion. Vision is there too. They're on the same level. The 3 people in charge.
Vision's a name. It's not like
Emma, I had this response. And our friend Robin told me that my not knowing that Vision was a character was a flex. And I was like, no, I've seen all the movies. I just didn't fucking it's a guy. Yeah, it's like a robot guy.
Okay.
I don't know who any of the characters are, and I think I've seen all the movies. They're just a big blur to me.
They're not that huge in the movies. So I think you can enjoy the show without watching any of the movies. But my friend Elle tells me that I am wrong, and she had to read a lot of Wikipedia articles. So I don't know.
But I've heard overwhelmingly good things.
It's good. And I had never seen the movie. The movie Age of Ultron that I watched after is the one where they introduce all of them.
Oh, okay. So I could just watch one movie?
Yeah, I think so. Well, and then you need to know, I'm not ruining anything. You need to know Vision is dead at the beginning of the show. So everybody but you knows that Vision died in the movies. And then, so long as you know he's dead from day one and that's part of the mystery, you're fine.
So in the show's title, is WandaVision one word or?
So I'm so sorry. I'll just explain WandaVision really quickly.
Okay, yeah. Give us a 30-second, 60-second breakdown of what WandaVision is.
So the concept is we are introduced into the home of Wanda and Vision, who are a married couple. One of them is a cyborg. I don't know the laws on that. They don't explain that. But they are in love because he has AI. And then, but the premise is they're in a magical world that is TV. So the first episode, you're definitely in the Dick Van Dyke Show, and you don't know why. Okay. And then the second episode, you're definitely in I Love Lucy, and you don't know why. And then they go through. So that's the cool part, is that it's through this lens of like a meta historic television perspective. And so every episode is a new era of sitcom. So that's what's really
cute. Okay, I might like it.
I think you both like it, but that doesn't mean you have to commit. Anyway, I covered all of WandaVision in my mental check-in. It was so funny. I listened to Las Culturistas podcast. I'm sure many of our listeners
do as well.
And today, when you started listening, they just immediately had one of the hosts get on and say, if you have never watched WandaVision, please skip to minute 21.
Well, I'm glad they did that.
That's so long.
Well, because they love it and they make me want to watch it, but they're also like, I like it better when they talk about shows I do like and know. So I'm glad they actually did that. That's very kind of them.
Everyone's talking about it, but you know what? Chloe, there is no way Chloe will watch it. And so I could do it. I could try to watch it, but it's the same reason I have never watched a minute of The Mandalorian. Is I know once I start watching it, it's going to be I'm going to have to watch it in private, and then Chloe is going to fuck with me and make fun of me for watching it. She hates all of that
Does
stuff.
your wife bully you?
Yeah, taunting. Yeah, a lot of taunting. Not about not about stuff that like more normal people bully each other. It's not like body image stuff. It's just like watching dumb shit.
It is only, I remember hearing it's 9 episodes and they're 30 minutes each. So it's only, what is that? 3.5? It's like less than 4 hours. And it has the same budget as a Marvel movie.
Okay.
So that's kind of fun.
Wow.
It's like watching them. Anyway.
Yeah.
You know
I should check in with one of you about how you're doing.
Sure. I'll go because we're doing the guest is the best. It's taken me all these years. It's taken me 17 years of being with Chloe to realize that, you know, the gender, that thing you hear about a lot where boyfriends will kind of bully their girlfriend in terms of like taste. It was some of our earliest topics. We would talk about this, Katie, on the podcast, is taste shaming women. And I realized it took me 17 years to realize in our relationship it was the opposite, because when I met Chloe, she had I jokingly now call her Chloe Pitchfork Ingram, because she just was like so up on very like esoteric music, all of the highest rated. So she would like make fun of me for liking Van Halen, and she would be like listening to Kid A on headphones. So anyway,
oh my God, she is a shitty college boyfriend.
But let's see. Oh, mental health check-in. We're very excited because we are on a 4-day weekend. As of this moment, Chloe and I we took tomorrow and Friday off, and we are going to go to a little lake house out in East Texas that we're super excited about. So we've been looking forward to this for a little while, because even over like Christmas, we took some days off, but we didn't go anywhere. So this will be our first time in almost a year, or about a year, to actually go off and kind of have any sort of like mini vacation type deal. So we're excited, and we're just not going to wear a mask. We're going to go into grocery stores. We're going to make out with strangers because Governor Abbott said so. I figured we'd we'd incorporate some of the Governor Abbott stuff. Was that too subtle? Anyway, but no, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm excited. I've been working my ass off the last week and a half. Very excited to have a little break right here. Oh, you know what? Okay, we can come back around to the Governor Abbott stuff, but I have a very important update on my family, my ongoing family drama saga.
Okay.
Get this. My 96-year-old grandmother had to go to the hospital last week. She has kind of ongoing kidney issues. So she went into the hospital last week. Because of this, she's doing better now. She just got discharged today. But about a week ago, all of this started blowing up. And as a result, my sister, my mom, and myself start texting each other for the first time in a long time.
Good.
And they were sending me updates. I was expressing my concern as a result of all of the grandma's health stuff. I'm calling them. I talked to my sister this morning for a long time, and I've talked with my mom a few times, and the conversations have been pleasant. And I even threw out the idea of maybe once I get my second vaccine, which should be coming up in the next few weeks, maybe go up for a quick visit to visit my grandmother. And she recently got her second vaccine. So all of this big news, no idea what the future holds, but this is a big improvement over where things were at.
That's very exciting.
Exciting.
I'm thrilled to hear it. For placing us in time for people listening to this, not the week it comes out, we're recording this on Wednesday, March 3rd. On the 2nd was the day that Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, decided to reopen all stores, and the mask mandate is off for with no warning whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I did forget to mention that I spent yesterday just absolutely furious, but
Totally.
I'm not there. You guys are there, and so I'm more interested. How are you feeling,
Yeah.
Emma? What's going on in your head
Yeah.
generally? You don't have to talk about Texas specifically,
Yeah,
but how are you?
I'm okay. It's been a weird time, but I am excited. My mom just got vaccinated, her first shot yesterday. So I've been
Nice.
worried about that because she has health issues. So that's a big old relief. And I've actually, since the storm, I've been doing a lot of volunteering, doing crisis work with Austin Mutual Aid.
Nice.
And that's been like really amazing and exhausting and like stressful. So I honestly feel like I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things after the chaos of the storm. But I'm distracted by this chat person, Big Balls 173.
Let's say all lives matter.
Oh,
Yeah, we got an
yeah.
All Lives Matter bot
I don't
named
know if
Big
that's-
Balls
Is that
173.
real or is it a joke? No, it was deleted. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm good. I think I am really scared about what's going to happen next week. But I also don't, my hope is that Austin at least will not change much because it seems like everyone, like the businesses here are still requiring masks.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be harder if someone tries to come in without a mask. So my heart is like, I'm stressing for my friends that work in the service industry or teachers, like people who have still not been vaccinated and like are gonna be forced to deal with this.
Yeah.
Really fucking sucks.
Totally sucks. Yeah, I think of the people who are going to be emboldened by this. I don't even know that I knew the word emboldened before Trump was elected president. I didn't even know emboldened was a word. Anyway, that's beside the point. But I think there are going to be a lot of emboldened people who, if they weren't wearing a mask before, they're obviously going to double down. And I think, yeah, it's just going to be that much easier for people to wig out in a grocery store because someone told them to put a mask on.
I would highly recommend everyone's wearing KN95s with another mask over it.
Yeah.
Just because like that's kind of already the recommendation.
Yeah. And it's
variants.
It feels like the one mask that like really protects you. Because so much of mask wearing is about protecting other people, which is God, so fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. This is how naive I was when I heard like a press release go out yesterday morning before Abbott actually made the announcement. It was like the pre-announcement, and it was like, Governor Abbott is going to make a public address this afternoon, and he says it's going to be good news, good, exciting news. And the first thought that went through my head was, they tracked down the motherfuckers at ERCOT. We're going to send them to jail. We're going to have some sweeping changes to the power grid. We're going to make it so this never happens again. And it'll be a great photo op for Abbott. And it'll satisfy the people who got really fucked over during Snowpocalypse. And then when he actually made the announcement, I was like, of course I'm a fucking moron. They're never going to do anything.
Lane, I'm a moron too, because I didn't think he would do anything for ERCOT, but I did think there would be some sort of like, it was some sort of storm relief.
Yeah.
And then of course, I had the same thought, like, well, that was naive of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so frustrating. Yeah. But Emma, you doing the volunteer work for the Austin Mutual Aid Fund, that's an organization I was unfamiliar with until you were posting about it during Snowpocalypse week. And so they're now on my radar and I'm following them, and I sent them a little donation, brag alert. I'm a good person. Anyway, but thank you so much for kind of boosting awareness of that organization. Could you, for people who don't really know, what are they about?
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard because it is just like, I mean, there are people that started it and there are people that are like way more involved than me, but because a lot of the stuff we were doing in the last couple of weeks was kind of like a crisis response to the storm. Like I probably know a tenth of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was sort of involved with just tangentially because I had friends who were working on it and they asked for more mental health professionals to volunteer. So the Awesome Mutual Aid was renting hotel rooms. I think we had about 200. And now we're, I don't know exactly how many are left. We still have almost a full hotel right now, and we're transitioning people either back to camps or like helping them get resources, but it's really tough because most people have jobs. So like I was there on Monday volunteering because I had the day off, but like haven't really checked in on the chat in the last 2 days, so I don't know what's going on. But it's just been it's been really cool to see all these people come together and do this work, and it's very infuriating that the government isn't doing it because it would be very easy for the government to provide housing and services for people. And so it is like, I don't know. But yeah, it's a mutual aid group that is helping people who are experiencing homelessness either get food or resources or tents or, just like different things they need. And there are a lot of mutual aid groups in Austin. It's not just this one. And there's the free fridge program, which is really cool. So there are a lot of
free fridge.
Yeah, we have a couple of free fridges around town that like you can donate to, and then people can just go and pick, and they're outdoors. So there's like a fridge, freezer, and pantry, and it's great because like I think it really is helping people, and like I live really close to one, so like if I just have extra groceries that like, it's like I have this couscous has been on my shelf for 2 months, I'm not going to eat it, or like I don't really want those, like often HEB will give me something that has gluten in it and I can't eat it, so it's like it's easy to like donate frequently. But yeah, so there are a lot of cool things happening in our city.
Wow.
And a lot of shitty things.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. Emma, thank you so much for telling us about this stuff. And that's wonderful that you are so in the know on all of that good stuff. And that's awesome that you're volunteering. Was it easy for you to say to them, I want to volunteer and kind of get going?
Yeah, because I just like, I had a friend who was looking for people, so I just chatted with her. And one cool thing that I did notice is like a couple of my friends from grad school were also volunteering. So it was like, even though I had my issues with my program and UT as like a big institution, it was cool to see so many people who I matriculated with out there doing the boots on the ground work.
Awesome. That is great. Very cool.
And tons of volunteers who are not there because they're social workers. They're just good people doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
But also as a social worker, you're not by any means required to be there. It's still
Sure.
It's still very generous.
Yeah.
You're overall a person who practices what you preach. You've run fundraisers for political candidates you give a shit about. We have you today because you are somebody who is willing to share online that you have had experience with eating disorders, and you said when we were texting about this, like it's something I think of as important to talk about. I hope this isn't too ham-handed of a segue.
No.
But no, I don't know. I respect you a lot for what you do and what you talk about. We'll
Hey,
probably
it's a
find
lack
our way
of
back in.
boundaries. No. I mean, that's where it started, but no, but I do think with eating disorders, they thrive in secrecy.
Mhm.
So when you can talk about them, it helps. And it just like, it's really helped me to follow other people in recovery and, you know, just like normalize recovery.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Can we just do what is your experience? I know you were a teenager, right? When you first started
I was a
struggling? Maybe.
12-year-old when I started
Yeah.
restricting. I was in 6th grade. And I became pretty severely anorexic. And then never got professional treatment at that age, which is a whole nother can of worms. But it just wasn't in my parents' capacity to deal with it at that time. So I just kind of got out of it. I like semi-recovered. And like was still restricting, but not to the point that I was when I was my sickest. And then in high school, I spent a lot of time abusing laxatives and diet pills. And then in college, um, I figured out how to make myself vomit because that was like actually something I had to like teach myself how to do. And so then I was pretty intensely bulimic. Although I did not, the DSM definitions of eating disorders are very like strict. So like I wasn't actually binging, I was just purging. So I think that would actually, I can't remember, Lane, maybe you know, but I think that's actually still qualified as anorexia. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think they are sticklers about that.
Yeah, it's well, and anorexia, my big beef, food, is anorexia has a weight requirement. You have to be like,
It does?
oh yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
To be diagnosed anorexic, according to the DSM, you have to be like 5 or 10% underweight, or maybe it's even 15%. So like I may have been that when I was 12, but I think most of the times I've been active in my eating disorder, I have not been that underweight. And there are many people who have eating disorders who are overweight, and are still restricting, and they are written off and still told to lose weight. So that being said, most people who have eating disorders probably technically have an unspecified eating disorder, which is like the blanket term for when you don't fit into the very specific parameters of bulimia or anorexia. But yeah, back to my timeline. I went through a lot of my 20s and 30s like being semi-recovered, basically, where like I wasn't actively binging, I mean, not binging, purging or restricting in the extreme ways I did as a teenager, but I was still like compulsive exercising, taking diet pills, putting myself on really intense diets. So it really wasn't until like a couple of years ago that I mean, that all got better gradually over time, but like it's really only been in the last couple of years that I've accepted that like just like the reality of how hard recovery can be for people, and that like honest, and I'm sure some people are different, but I think if you've had repeated eating disorders, it is hard to ever be fully recovered. You're always in recovery. It's a process that is always like ebbing and flowing, and like I think I'm at a place that is so much healthier than I was 10, 20 years ago. And I'm never going to be like, okay, good, I'm fine, cured. I don't need to think about this anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. No, well, thank you so much for telling us about this journey. What could you, or what would you be able to tell us? And we said this kind of off air before we started, but we told Emma that she should feel free to let us know if there's anything she doesn't want to answer. And I love your response to that, Emma. I would paraphrase it, but I think you probably remember what you said.
I think I just said I'll be fine saying no. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, you just said I will be totally fine telling you I don't want to answer something,
Oh,
but in
yeah,
a chill way. I
Yeah.
like the chill way. Yeah.
Well, I don't. That's a big promise I made 20 minutes ago.
I love it. But no, I was just gonna ask.
well, okay.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Katie, am I
please.
stepping on? Oh, I was just gonna ask Emma if you wouldn't mind telling us, kind of like where you think this your relationship with food, eating, maybe where it started, kind of like the internal process.
Yeah, it's, I don't know entirely. And I definitely want to be clear, like, I don't think it's a universal thing. Like, I think it comes from a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
Sure.
But obviously the cultural attitudes towards size and diet culture impacted me. For sure, that's a huge part of it. And I think it's important to recognize that component of it, that like we are inundated with fat phobic marketing and anti-diet, not anti-diet, like diet culture. And now it's transitioned from diet culture to health culture, because it's like passe to like, we're supposed to be body positive, but like now we're gonna like do these like Noom is an example of like something that claims it's not a diet, but it is. And like, just like the wording may change, but we're still being told to shrink and buy these products to become better. So that's absolutely part of it. But I think with severe eating disorders, it's often related to control and wanting control in your life. And I do have a form of OCD as well. And then I also have ADHD. But I think I came from a pretty chaotic household. And so that, coupled with the transition of going from like, and it's pretty common for adolescents to be when this stuff comes up, but that transition from like elementary school to middle school to like puberty and like just like, I don't know, all that shit of like change and like just like trying to navigate that, coupled with chaotic substance use household. When you develop an eating disorder, it becomes your world. And it, in some ways, it gives you a sense of control because you are 100% only focusing on that. So it kind of was, it's an escape. It's a way to like really gain a sense of control and kind of not have to deal with anything else because it's the only thing you're thinking about, really. So I think that's a huge part of it. I don't do well with transitions. Changes were always really hard for me. And like, it's like my first 3 like big relapses or big incidents were like years of transition, like first year of middle school, first year of high school, first year of college. Like and then graduating college. And that's just like, I think it makes sense. There's actually, there's a really great book that I would recommend called Appetites. And it's a memoir of a woman who, she also has a book about being an alcoholic and getting sober, but this is a book about her anorexia, and like she makes a connection between those two illnesses.
Alcoholism and anorexia.
Yeah, alcoholism or substance use and eating disorders. And I don't know the statistics on that, but I believe there is a correlation. And it does make sense to me because at the core of both of those issues, you're kind of trying to escape or like get control or like feel numb. So that makes sense to me. Yeah, that's, I don't know if I answered the question.
You totally did that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for telling us about that. And I Katie, I think you had a question before I stomped all over you.
No. Well, it was interesting, just some of the stuff Emma was sharing. I think a lot of this is like, I don't know, whenever somebody shares a fact that like doesn't, the fact that you have to be under a certain weight to be categorized as anorexic was, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised to hear it. And one of the questions I was going to get to later is just like, and we can still hold on this, but like how you feel like the media plays into perceptions of stuff like this, because I feel like so often who we see on TV as anorexic is really thin. I wrote down a bunch of statistics going into this. If it's okay, I might share them just to lend context to the rest of the conversation. So 9% of the world population have an eating disorder. Roughly 9% of the US population, so around 30,000 people alive today, will have an eating disorder in their lifetime. Only 6% or less of those people are categorized as underweight. Eating disorders are among the most deadly mental illnesses, second only to opioid overdose. It's comparable to borderline personality disorder, but most people with borderline also have an eating disorder, and 25% of people with eating disorders have borderline.
Wow. Never knew that. That's interesting.
Well, it has a lot to do with self-image. So, but 10,000 deaths each year are the direct result, so not even a side effect of an eating disorder. And 26% of people with eating disorders will attempt suicide. Sorry, they say stuff like that about bipolar disorder too, and I don't like to hear it because it sounds so fatalistic. But
well, I think it's important to remember that like the eating disorder itself is like, in my mind, kind of a symptom of like you're not happy if you have an eating disorder. Like you have something else going on, and it, you know, it may be BPD, it may be bipolar, it may be depression, it may be anxiety, it may be a combination of things. But like I think like substance use, it has a lot of comorbidity, which just means like a co-occurring illness. So I think it's hard to unpack like what's the eating disorder and what, I mean, you need to treat the eating disorder, absolutely, but I think you also need to focus on like, well, what is that root cause?
Yeah. No, you're exactly. I think like I had a session today where some things like this came up, and it has so much to do, I think, for some childhood trauma, maybe the family relationship with food and body image, shame in the house around weight, body image issues. And we're talking about kind of the intertwining of like body, eating, and self-worth. And anytime our self-worth is attached to something that might fluctuate, then I just feel like it's it can be a recipe for just like this kind of inner turmoil and chaos, a fluctuating sense of self, fluctuating sense of self-worth. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It is kind of like a tip of the iceberg kind of thing, an eating disorder.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is like body dysmorphia and eating disorders have a huge connection, and many people have both, but you don't have to. You definitely don't have to. I think it's common, but like, I mean, I think I have body dysmorphia for sure, but I know there are people who have eating disorders who don't. And I think there's also just, there's a lot of myths in the media of how eating disorders work. And like, it's typically only portrayed as like skinny white women, which certainly is a demographic that has lots of eating disorders, but like it's underaddressed in other races, it's underaddressed in men. And it's, I don't know. It's interesting because I think it's one of those things that like, because so many people, and like, I think you guys mentioned this on Javi's episode, like when doctors tell people to lose weight, it can, I'm not saying there aren't reasons to diet and like change, exercise and be healthy. But so often, even medical professionals are going off of like cultural things that are ingrained in us rather than like the actual truth, which is like most diets don't work. There's a huge genetic variance in body size. And if you spend your life cycling through dieting and like weight gain and loss, you're doing damage to your body as well. Not to mention the mental health component of dieting and like how that can be damaging as well. So like I've been really interested in the health at every size movement, which is basically just like people can be healthy at any size. Like the obesity epidemic is kind of a false narrative in the sense that yes, people are getting like there are illnesses that are correlated with obesity, and like just telling people to lose weight isn't the fix. Like we need to fix the systems that create this as well. Like we need to fix food deserts, we need to fix just like
what's affordable,
what's available to people, and fix the trauma that people experience in poverty. That may lead to shit that makes you like depressed and not want to like exercise, like there's just so many components that aren't addressed, and then instead we just create diets that aren't healthy.
Why are doctors so thin? It infuriates me. Like, why every time I go to the doctor, they're so fit. And so not only am I getting lectured by someone, but they're just so, and they make it look so easy. I had a doctor once say to me, they were like talking about how they themselves struggled with weight gain. And when they described their version of struggling with weight gain, it was like they gained, and this is like a 6'3", like tall, handsome, thin white man telling me that he gained 5 pounds like a few years ago. And he was like, and I realized what it was. I was coming home and occasionally having a glass of red wine with dinner.
Fuck off.
And he was like, so I had to cut back on my indulgences. I'm like, the fuck? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Also,
I got nothing to bounce that off.
Just the very
of.
idea of that to a woman, that would be like, for me, that just means it's the 25th of the month. Like, fuck off. But
Yeah.
no, sorry. I'm good. If you don't mind, sorry, I'm just gonna just keep like lending just a little bit of context, because what you guys are saying is so interesting, and I want to validate your feelings with facts whenever possible. So larger body size people are that's like a significant risk factor in developing an eating disorder, but they're significantly less likely to be addressed by their doctors. And a University of Toronto study suggests that it's precisely the women who meet. Oh wait, this is different, sorry, I put both of these things in one category. So if you're overweight, you're at higher risk for an eating disorder. If you're someone who's been told you're beautiful your whole life, you also put all of your eggs in the basket and are at higher risk for an eating disorder. Black women are 50% more likely to develop bulimia, as are Hispanic women. It's just like the number of risk factors that go into this. It's almost like when I was reading the stats, I was literally like, I can't figure out who's not at higher risk for eating disorders.
Well, and I've also I read that the prevalence is increasing. And I don't know where I read that, so I can't pull it up right now. But like over the last 20 years, and I don't know if it's being diagnosed more because there's more understanding of eating disorders existing at different sizes, or if there's actually an increase because we're seeing an increase in isolation and sadness and like the wealth disparity, like struggles are getting worse, so everything's getting worse. Or is it because we're actually diagnosing more? I don't know.
No, that's super interesting, because like, yeah, I keep thinking about this because I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, Emma, your experience with your mother, and I don't want to go too deep into mine, but like my mom talks about being fat a lot and has since she was significantly thinner than I am now, which like I think is saying I'm like very like under average size. So it's like, fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mom. If you're listening, not fuck you. I know that society did this to you. But oh fuck, where was I going with this? I had a point and then I got embarrassed that I implied that I was thin. Which is that it's like but social media is so interesting because like it's taught me the body positive language that I'm trying to impart to my mom, who is more classical, like, oh, everybody has to be thin narrative. But at the same time, it's like my mom never had to put up with comparing the number of likes she gets on a photo to a peer at age 13. Like I do keep reading about the fact that social media, like you can follow a body positive person, but you're still going to see that your friend in class who's thinner than you is getting more likes on her photos. And so it's also, there's apparently, even though we as like millennials are like, Gen Z is so cool, they're so body positive, they're so whatever, they're requesting plastic surgery at a rate that is like unheard of to us because they literally want to look like Snapchat photos. So that's like really fucked up. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, again, it's just like everything feels like a risk factor.
Yeah, I didn't come up during a time of social media, but I can tell you when I started losing weight, where I went from obese to like kind of the outer edges of good. I think I did like an evaluation with the personal trainer when I was like 23 or 24. And I was like, for the first time in my entire life, I met the range that said good, when they're like needs work and they like show you some sort of a spectrum of like what a man your size should look like and BMI. And it was a lot more, there was a lot more to it than just the, what's your height? What's your age? Okay, you're supposed to weigh this much, so you're fat because you're not that. This was like, they did like all these measurements and whatever.
The like pinchies and
yeah, they did all that stuff. And they were like, okay, you're good. You're kind of on the outer edges of good, but tell us what you'd like to work on. And I was like, you mean you're not going to lecture me about what I have to work on? The choice is mine. But I can remember around this age, There was no social media for me at the time, really. But I noticed, and this is the thing, I don't know if it was a confidence thing, but I swear to God, I got treated better everywhere I went. It was like, this is how thin people feel all the time. It felt like, right this way, sir.
Yeah, and I feel like in terms of like fat phobia, I've never lived in a body that's like outside of the realm of like accepted to the extent where like I've noticed that so much, and certainly have had tons of privilege, but like you'll read stories from like people who are fat, who have experienced such blatant and like insane treatment that like, I mean, getting kicked off airplanes and like I don't know, that's the only example I can think of right now, but just like, I don't know, it's wild that like we put so much emphasis on fat being this terrible thing. And obviously, yes, it does, you know, there are those, you know, increased risks maybe of having a bigger body. And then, but like that's put ahead of everything else, like any other component that could be affecting you. Like there are healthy people at every size, there really are. And I think like I have a friend who just always had a crazy strong metabolism, fast metabolism. Anyway, she literally ate nothing but fast food, and like was always really skinny. And like, if you stood her next to someone who ate extremely healthy but was fat, people would automatically assume that she had a healthier diet.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if she, you know, I'm sure, you know, both people may have health issues or not, but there's just like so much misinformation around. And like BMI is an example. Like people getting the COVID vaccine, which like go for it if you have a high enough BMI that like you're considered obese. But like the BMI was invented in the 1800s. It's really scientifically inaccurate.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like, I don't remember. There's so much shit about the BMI that like is just totally fucked. And like,
wow,
it should just not be regarded at all. Like,
Well,
it serves no
I
purpose.
mean, this won't mean anything to people who don't know what he looks like, but this came up with Javi last week and he was like, yeah, I'm overweight. Javi is not a man you can pinch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, yes, that's been on my mind this past. No, he said that a doctor told him he met criteria for obesity, and that fucking made me like
Very
muscle
fit.
because
weight,
he's a very fit dude.
because muscle mass weighs more than fat. So like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, like anyone who's extremely muscular probably, or I could see that they would technically qualify for obese, like as obese under those parameters, even though it's like, obviously they're not.
Yeah.
And people who are obese because they have fat aren't necessarily unhealthy either.
Yeah.
But
Very
go get that shot.
helpful information. I was gonna. Oh, I'm sorry, Katie.
No, you.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, what do you think, Emma, has helped you over the years?
Yeah. So it's tricky because like exercise has helped and it can become a compulsion. So I have to be really mindful about the why I'm exercising and how I exercise. So like, I do yoga and dance stuff and it's really great. But I have to be mindful of like when it becomes like something I like am putting too much pressure on. So like I like if I'm sick and I make myself work out, that's something that's kind of a red flag for me. Like, hey, you're maybe you should think about if that's really what your body needs right now, because sometimes bodies need rest.
Yeah.
And then so but that like joyful movement of like using my body and appreciating its strength and like that does help. And also I mean, social media has a lot of harmful components, but like following a lot of recovery accounts and like listening to them and like learning more about intuitive eating and like trying to apply those lack of rules to my eating, which is basically just like food is food. All food has, there's not good food, there's not bad food. Food nourishes your body. Some foods have more nutrients in them than others, but like food is food. And I don't allow myself to count calories or weigh myself anymore. And those were really hard things to break.
Yeah.
Like I haven't weighed myself in like 2 years. I have no idea what I weigh. And that's like, and did you know you can tell doctors you do not want to be weighed?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, you don't have to be weighed.
Wow.
Interesting.
I used to like just, I started by like turning around and saying, please don't tell me I'm in like eating recovery. And then I found out you can just say, I don't want to be weighed.
You just blew my mind, Emma.
Someone else told me that. I didn't know it. I was talking about how I like look the other way and tell them I'm in ED recovery and not to tell me. And like someone else then pointed out to me, I like, you don't have to say all that. You can just say, I don't want to be weighed. I was like, oh, I don't have to like tell them my trauma. Cool.
I feel like the buddy of the person who like invented fire, and they're just like, wait, what the fuck is that? Like, it's blowing my mind. Like, wow.
Yeah.
You can just say, I don't want to be weighed.
Yeah. And I mean, there might be doctors and nurses who push back on that, but I've been doing it for about 6 months or a year, and it's not been an issue.
Awesome. You know, I mentioned this on the last episode, but the more I think about it, the more I realize, like I've honestly kind of marinated on this in the last week and thought, I really do think there was something to me not having a full length mirror for several years that I think helped me so much. Where I think I'm in this weird place right now where in many ways I feel like I've never been happier and more fulfilled than I am right now, and kind of like feeling okay, not like thrilled, but definitely not down in the dumps about the way I look, kind of just somewhat content.
Yeah.
And yet I know I am not healthy is the thing. It's not so much for me at this point vanity or comparing myself to unrealistic. For me, it really feels like I'm on a collision course with a heart attack, because I know that runs in my family, and diabetes basically.
Yeah.
Diabetes and heart disease run in my family really bad. So it's like, I know I'm not healthy, and yet I feel good, and I'm fucking it's such a weird place to be in.
I think there is a balance there. Like, even though I'm anti-diet, obviously there are health issues that like require specific diets. And like, I don't eat gluten because it makes me sick. And like, if you have an allergy, you shouldn't eat that thing. If you're diabetic, you should limit your sugar intake. Like that is a scientifically proven thing that I get. And like, I'm in no way against that. I just think we need to also consider mental health with physical health. So like, you should limit sugar if you're diabetic, and it's probably okay to find some ways to eat things you enjoy too.
No, I think you're so right, is like, well, and I don't know, I guess part of it too, not to get into like actually justifying it or whatever, is it can be hard to find the boundaries of doing less. Like for me, when I did this stupid thing where I cut out carbs, it was like the minute I had a piece of bread, I wanted to have 20 pieces of bread because I had not eaten bread for so long. But that said, it's like, I don't know. I do think that that's the thing, is like I'd cut out bread for so long that then when I ate it, I wanted to eat a crazy amount. And that's where like the yo-yoing that actually makes it super. Well, I don't think that low carb dieting is actually that healthy. It's very high fat. If you have any sensitivity to cholesterol or sodium, you're fucked.
Well,
But
you need carbs to fully function.
yeah,
But yeah, yes, restricting leads to binging.
yeah,
That is proven. And so like I do also really recommend intuitive eating, because it may make you gain a little weight, it may make you lose a little weight, it may not change anything, but it basically is working towards removing all the emotional value in food. Not like you won't still enjoy things, but like
Yeah.
basically like
yeah,
nothing's forbidden.
yeah,
That's what I do. That's the best way to put it. Is I think for me, food has always been a way of controlling my emotions. It's like
Yeah,
I feel down. I know what'll cheer me up is even just the thought of ordering pizza for dinner, like brightens up my day.
sure.
yeah,
And I look forward to it. And then, and it's like, yeah, I need to, I probably just need to do the work to start finding other ways to brighten up a day is the
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with food being enjoyment.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
like I think food is medicine in that way too. But sometimes we put so much pressure on it to or put it in that binary of good or bad.
mhm,
Yeah.
As
Totally.
opposed to just being like, enjoy the pizza and then let it go, because like
yeah,
I used to do that where like I would like try to avoid foods, and then when I did get that food, it's like really hard to control yourself with it. And like I don't know, I think just like, and I certainly still have issues around food, like I'm not saying I don't, but for the most part I've stopped, or I catch myself when I am judging something I'm eating, and just let it be what it is. And I also try something that's worked for me, like when I'm trying to eat healthier, I try to focus on adding things rather than like removing things.
that
Oh,
I
yes.
yeah. Whenever I try to eat
Genius.
healthier, I just say 2 green vegetables a day, Katie.
Yeah, that's
Smart.
my thing, because I don't love vegetables, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
They're yucky. And like I so like I try to like make sure I eat vegetables every day. And I can eat whatever else I want too. But adding that, like focusing on what I'm going to try to add to nourish my body versus like, okay, today I'm not going to have any bread. It's just a much healthier mindset
I love it.
for me.
We were once hanging out with a friend in the before times who jokingly said we had ordered pizza and we had a salad to go with it, and he was he started chowing down on the salad. And the thing that I always struggle with is when we order salad and pizza, I always want to have a slice of the pizza first, and then that sets me on a path of eating pizza, and then I've got to remind myself, but you were supposed to also eat salad. And anyway, and so, but he said something really funny. He had no idea. It was like before I even lunged for the pizza, he just started digging into his salad, and he goes, "Man, I can't wait to chow down on this pizza after I front load on greens."
Mhm.
And so that has become a saying for Chloe and I, is front loading on greens. Like, I can't wait to eat this food. So, and that has kind of in a weird way helped me to go for the salad before the pizza, if that analogy makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I'm not always good with it, but my batting average is much better having that silly saying. I was going to ask you, Emma, and I'm so sorry that I don't know of a like, I don't know, a sugar coated way to ask this, but I feel like I should ask, did at any point you do a treatment center or therapy to help with this? And
Oh,
did you
yeah.
find that helpful?
Yes, thank you. So I did finally go to an eating disorder specialist when I was 19. But it was like in the end of a semester. So like I went for a few months and then like went back home for the summer and like never went back. So it wasn't really until I was in my mid-20s that I started going to therapy regularly. And I never specifically went to eating disorder therapists, but I did do work around it. And I
Nice.
did do EMDR. Not a lot of it was around my body image and like um but also the chaos of my childhood, and like that definitely helped. But then I've also had therapists like not help. um like I had a therapist that when I was talking about my um body shame recommend the keto diet to me, knowing my eating disorder history, which is like, in my opinion, a terrible thing to do.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that being said, you know, I think they were a really good therapist in other ways. So it was like,
Yeah.
that was a blind spot for them.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way of,
And I think it
wow.
goes like with any mental health issue or anything. Um, but especially with body image and diet culture like being so prevalent in our society, mental health professionals and doctors also have body image issues. So like um you do have to find the right person and like make sure like you're going to someone who aligns with you. Even like with eating disorder dietitians, a lot of them are incredible. And then I have heard of that some that like will still try to like guarantee you're not going to gain weight, like, and put the emphasis on that as opposed to like getting the person healthy.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think for me, I really absolutely benefited from therapy and just like doing a lot of work
Yeah.
on my own around it with the assistance of therapy. And I will have slip ups. Like after breakups is always really hard to like not fall back into it, because it's like, even if nothing was, I always make it about my body in my head.
Yeah.
Like, and I've joked about this before, like I would rather be broken up with for my personality than like think it's because I'm like, they thought I was overweight or like I was ugly.
Right. No,
And
I
like
totally
that's
get this.
so like that is such a wild thing. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
broke up with me because of my personality, fine. But like, you're not attracted to me, I'm gonna go restrict for a few months.
Yes.
And like, and that's also all a narrative I make up. No one has ever told me that they have broken up with me because they were not attracted to me.
But it's that fear, though. That fear lurks in there somewhere. I like that's why I love that there's a moment early on in The Office where Steve Carell, Michael Scott, is like getting broken up with, and she just completely berates him. You're pretentious. You're an idiot. And so we're breaking up, and he goes, but it's not because you think I'm unattractive.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. And that, like, he's totally cool with the fact that he just got chewed out and broken up with. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I get that. As fucked up as that is, I kind of get that.
Yeah. And it's like, maybe it's just a confidence thing, because like I like my personality. So it's like,
Yeah.
the place where you're most insecure is where you put all
Yeah.
the stuff.
Emma, something I think we have in common, and one of the things I love the most about you is you're like a specific you do not try to be broad to please people. So it's like, oh, you didn't fit into the thing that is great about me. That's fine. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, you
fair.
take pride in what you like and you don't give a shit if people don't like that. I mean, I'm sure we all do. But like, yeah, that's way easier when it's like, oh, you were too opinionated or something. It's like, that's actually what's great about me. So fuck
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, your body is like, well, I can't control. I didn't choose to be this every day of my life.
Yeah.
Um,
And then another thing that I think brought up eating stuff for me and lots of people was the beginning of quarantine. Because there was this whole panic around food and scarcity. That like, and you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't, like all that stuff brought up a lot of shit. And like having to buy packaged food and like, which I eat packaged food all the time, but like, just like having to think about food in that way brought up challenges. And it was really interesting because it was like, I remember feeling that anxiety and then like seeing people post about it the next day, like other eating disorder recovery people. And it was like, oh, okay, we're all freaking out right now. Good. Glad, like that makes me feel better. But yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you
did.
totally. It was.
We went
Was
on
I
a
the one that asked the
road.
question? No,
I
we're
think so, like maybe
yeah.
like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, no. You're it's a free flowing conversation. It's all good. No, yeah. How about this? If we're kind of in the home stretch, let me just Katie, was there did I interrupt you just now? Were you did you
No.
have a question for Emma?
I had one final question I wrote down.
Yeah,
First of all,
yeah.
Emma, I want to say this is like a really great interview. This is already one of my favorite episodes of our podcast. So thank you for being here.
Yes.
But I loved what you're saying about intuitive eating. I follow some accounts on Instagram who I feel like are sort of also like complimentary of it as a concept, but I don't really know where to find information if I kind of wanted to go to the root source. Do you remember off the top of your head anywhere that people who like wanted to like follow or read something?
Yeah, I mean, there's a workbook just called Intuitive Eating. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember who it's by, but that's where I would recommend starting. And then there are so many accounts that I like. I don't remember any of their names. But
that's good.
I can send them
Interesting.
to you.
I see something called intuitiveeating.org. That sounds very official. It's an org.
Yeah, let me look up the book and make sure I'm giving the.
Yeah.
I think it's like
Well, and you can always
workbook.
Okay.
Yeah, it's by Elise Rich and Evelyn Tribole. I don't know how you say their names. But that's like the main one. But there are other ones, like there's one called like the Anti-Diet Diet, which I've heard is good as well.
And then the book you recommended was called Appetites. I know. I wrote
Yeah.
that down. And that's
And I
by
will-
Carolyn Knapp. Is that?
Carolyn Knapp, yeah. And I will say with that one, like it does come with a trigger warning because she does give details about
Absolutely.
her ED, and like I think that can be interesting, but it can also, like, I know personally when I've been in not great places, reading or watching something about someone else's eating disorder is like, you get fodder, you get ideas.
Exactly. No, I blotted my pizza for a long time because I watched girls in anorexia documentaries do that. And I was like, I should do
Yeah,
that.
I did it for years. And then, well, actually, I pulled the cheese off pizza for years.
Yeah.
So
we
I would
both
just
made
eat, like,
pizza. Everybody
wet
makes
bread.
pizza worse. Sorry.
I always love that scene. Along Came Polly, Ben Stiller, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Ben Stiller is blotting his pizza, and Philip Seymour Hoffman, the great PSH, goes, "I'll take that over here." And he grabs his pizza and starts kind of draining the grease. He holds Ben Stiller's slice up so that grease drains off so that he gets extra grease on his slice of pizza. PSH, RIP. I feel like, I know this is a total different topic, but I feel like PSH, I wonder if body image played a part in sort of his self-destructive side.
Yeah, who knows? I mean,
I'm
I'm
sorry
sure as
that-
an actor.
What, Katie? I'm sorry. What did
No,
what
I
did-
didn't mean to cut Emma off. I apologize.
Oh, just like, I mean, I'm sure as an actor, I know like I spent a long time embarrassed to even tell people I was an actor because I thought they would laugh at me
Oh,
because I wasn't skinny.
Mm,
Even when I was much thinner, like, I mean, my weight hasn't fluctuated that much, but like,
Yeah.
when I've gone through thinner periods, I would still just be like, well, I can't tell people I'm an actor because like,
yeah.
they'll laugh
Yeah.
at me. And like,
Yeah.
that's a while. And like, probably that's not the same for a man in some ways.
I was gonna say in some ways, I'm sure it's easier for us guys, but it's still not fun. I mean,
Sure.
it's like the roles I always get sent out for. I was having this conversation the other day with the mutual friend about, it's like going out for fat guy stuff. And like I was talking with somebody, this was a ways back, but I was talking with a buddy who was like, oh yeah, so-and-so, I've been bumping into so-and-so out here in LA at a lot of auditions. And then there was this pause and he's like, yeah, he's going out for fat guy stuff too now. He's gained weight. It's like, because it's like I'm going out for fat guys. I'm talking to another guy going out for fat guy roles, and then it's like we bump into a dude. He bumps into a dude who like I remembered being thin, and it's like, oh, he gained weight, so now he's showing up at the same audition. But like all he had to say was, yeah, he's going out for fat guy stuff now too. And it's just like, just in my head, I just fill in all those blanks. Yeah. So yeah, you never get the like leading man role. It's always like the best friend who's interesting looking, or the boss who's like a joke, like the shitty boss, so
I think in all entertainment, I mean, performance, your body is part of that. And like that was a huge thing in acting classes, like your body is your instrument. And like I'm sure that contributed to shit. Because I started acting pretty young. And that was always a huge motivator for me to lose weight, even when I was like, but then you look back at pictures of yourself as a teenager and like, I was very thin, and it was like, it's sad to me.
Yeah.
That I was so unhappy with my body.
That is there, and it's almost like it's like horrifying and reassuring at the same time to know there's never a weight at which you'll feel good.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was too bleak. But
no, I think
I mean, same.
I don't know, I'll go through phases where I'll be like, oh wow, I'm really happy with my body right now, because like I did yoga every day in January as part of this challenge thing, and I gave myself permission before I started it to take 45 days to finish it, because I didn't want it to become a compulsion thing.
Yeah.
And then I did finish it in the 30 days, but I don't know if my body really changed or not, but I felt so much stronger that I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good about my body now. But then like, you'll have a shitty day and it's like, I can't leave my house because I will scare people, like the extremes are pretty wild.
Yeah. I think you're onto something with the like quarantine. Like there's something about quarantine where I'm at now in quarantine. I honestly think it's helped me, because it's like I'm always from kind of abdomen up on camera, virtual stuff, constantly in sweatpants, not having to squeeze into slacks or jeans at all, wearing my untuckit.com shirts. I got like a system down, and I am honestly dreading having to return to quote unquote normal life, because I'm like, I don't think my Dockers are gonna work anymore. I'm gonna have to, but right now is great though. Right now is good, but not looking forward to what's around the corner, I guess. That was bleak. Jesus Christ. Anyway, But no, this has all been a really helpful information, Emma, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and really giving us some wonderful information, and also giving us such an illuminating and honest look at your journey. Is there anything you'd like to say that you didn't get a chance to say?
Yeah, another thing that can sometimes help me, and this is like maybe not for everyone, but reminding myself of the like sexist and capitalist reasons for diet culture, and like, you know, reminding myself that like putting all that energy into shrinking yourself and like buying into that is like against my ethics in a way, like not to like shame myself around it, but just to kind of like empower myself around it. So that can sometimes help too, depending on
I like that. Yeah, I like that. And by the way, speaking of a capitalist corporation, Dockers, if you're listening, make pant sizes that go up past 42, for Christ's sake. I mean,
yeah,
it would just help me out so much. Anyway, even just for a little bit, so I can just have some time to rein it back in. It's like they go up to 40 and then I'm fucked. Anyway, I hate it because I like these Dockers. I can't emphasize enough. They're so comfortable, but once you go past that threshold, you got to go to a whole different brand.
We talked about this last week too. It's just like capitalism. Make up your mind. Do you want us to be thin, or do you want us to buy? Like, we have to buy clothes. Make clothes for.
Yeah.
It stops at an absurd size for the American bell curve. It's. You want to make money?
Yeah, that is a good point. I don't know why that is.
Okay. Well, Emma, you've been wonderful.
Totally, yeah.
Appreciate it. We encourage people to watch or to listen to Twin Beds, rather. We think the work you're doing is awesome. We'll endorse volunteering with Austin Mutual Aid. Sounds like it's been fulfilling. We'll endorse that as well.
And they always need more volunteers and donations, so go to their Instagram, people.
Yeah, and I'll just say Emma Stone, Emma Holder, one of the absolute funniest people in Austin, and a great follow on the things. Do you want to plug any of your handles or not really?
Oh, sure. Do I know them?
No worries.
She's Emma Holder _ girl detective.
Oh yeah, that's my Instagram. I'm trying to remember what because I had to change my my Twitter. I de-identified myself a little because I got a death threat this summer around Black Lives Matter stuff.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Emma _ unofficial.
Yeah, so I took my last name and picture off because I got a death threat.
Oh shit! That's
like a guy
coming
found
back
my
to me
phone
now.
number and called me, and said my old address. Like he said an address from like 6 years ago into the phone. So it was like fine.
That's so scary though. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I remember that now. That's so fucked up.
I'm so sorry.
But anyway, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah. To our regular listeners, like and subscribe, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all those places. Follow all the shows on ColdTowne Radio, like Victrola and A Night with the Stars, and other ones. I'm not going to list them all. And support ColdTowne Theater, which is currently just an idea.
Yeah. And thank you, Preston.
Classes are registering.
Oh, you're teaching, right?
I am. I'm teaching a sketch class. I just remembered that.
Yeah.
And there's some other classes too. There's lots of classes, I think.
I would take classes from Emma. I'll just load on you for a sec. She's always been incredible at improv, and then started stand-up and immediately was great, which is very frustrating. And so she's a great writer. I would take your sketch class in a second.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Should we get off this thing?
Yes.
Oh wait, did I interrupt something you were saying?
No.
Yeah, sketch classes. That's all.
I don't know what I was saying. But thank you for listening, and thank you, Emma, once again, and thank you, Preston. I already said that. Thank you to the people. Thank you,
Goodbye.
chat. Bye.
Thank you, guys.